Introduction to Criminology and Profiling. Introduction. In this module, you will be introduced to the subject of criminology. In this module, we will cover different aspects of crime, including profiling, defining crime and the causes of crime. Topics to be covered include defining criminology, defining crime, causes of crime, introduction to profiling, importance of profiling. Defining criminology. Criminology is a mixture of disciplines with a dispute over where its boundaries lie. It has origins in medico-legal science, psychiatry, legal theory, history, and sociology. While predominantly sociological approaches dominated criminology, a new strand of technical and policy-oriented scientific criminology has emerged. Generally, criminology can be specified as a genre of discourse and inquiry around a crime that is empirically grounded and scientific in nature, setting it apart from the moral and legal discourse. It also concerns itself with the nature of the crime as a social phenomenon. Modern criminology can be separated into two streams of work. Governmental projects. This includes the working of prisons, police and the measurement of crime. Linkage project. These are the studies which examine the characteristics of criminals and non-criminals, thereby enabling us to understand the causes of crime. Due to its complex nature, criminology can have different approaches being taken. This can cause issues as some approaches may be at odds with one another. This is one of the biggest challenges faced by criminologists. Defining crime. Due to its complicated history and different approaches, defining crime can be tricky. However, it can be loosely defined as an action which constitutes an offense and is punishable by law. It also includes study of the making of laws, the breaking of laws, and society's reaction to it. There are three main tributaries that make up the subject of crime. 1. The study of crime. 2. The study of those who commit a crime. 3. The study of criminal justice and penal systems. Some believe that titular word crime is misleading in criminology and would prefer it to be renamed something like social harm. This is because crime has no ontological reality. This means crime has no reality beyond the application of the term. For example, to kill someone may be considered murder, but to do so in war is most likely not. Criminology perpetuates the myth of crime. Despite the above point, criminology talks of crime as if the category was unproblematic. Crime consists of many petty events. Plenty of criminal acts result in no physical or financial harm and often include no victim. Crime excludes many serious harms. For example, large-scale tax fraud, which is rarely prosecuted. Those studying criminology must not lose sight of this. It is also important to recognize that crimes have different legal and moral implications. For example, rape is both morally and legally wrong, but some Muslims may consider drinking alcohol morally wrong, even in countries where it is legal. The law is often revised, so the parameters of crime change over time. Crime also differs depending on where you are. The main legal systems in the world are common law. This is a system where cases are usually based on judicial decisions made by judges and similar tribunals. Civil law. This is a common legal system relating to civil wrongs. The law of property is part of civil law. Indigenous or traditional law. This includes laws that were created prior to the spread of colonialism. Religious law. For example, Sharia in Islam, canon law in Catholic churches, halakha in Judaism, etc. Causes of crime. Crime is complex. There are many theories and studies about what causes crime. Views usually fall into one of two categories. 1. Individualist viewpoint. This viewpoint emphasizes independence and self-reliance. An individualist believes people have free will and are therefore capable of choosing to commit a crime on their own, regardless of education or upbringing. They believe those who break the law should be punished regardless of their circumstance. They also believe that a stricter punishment will result in fewer laws being broken. 2. Collectivist viewpoint. This viewpoint emphasizes that individuals have been led to commit crimes due to their circumstances. This can be upbringing, a lack of money, being abused, being addicted to drugs, etc. Collectivists believe that improving housing, employment, and education would help prevent crime. Collectivists believe crime is a problem created by society. Many factors have been identified for causing crime, and they usually come under psychological, social, economic, or biological factors. This includes poverty, parental neglect and/or abuse, alcohol or drug abuse, poor home values, a family involved in crime, low self-worth. Motives are the reasons someone may commit a crime. They include strong emotions such as anger or jealousy, seeking an adrenaline rush, fear, winning the approval of peers, maintaining a place in a gang or criminal organization, material gain, thirst for power or revenge. Introduction to profiling. Criminal profiling is known under various names: offender profiling, criminal personality profiling, criminological profiling, behavioral profiling, criminal investigative analysis. Criminal profiling is when a professional, usually with a psychology background, assess a person's individual characteristics to determine whether they are likely to have committed a crime. Criminal profilers analyze the nature of the crime, how it was committed, and any key characteristics that stand out. Deductions can then be made to help to identify possible perpetrators. Characteristics. The characteristics of a person can be determined by looking at things like emotions, mental state, personality, physicality, life circumstances. This type of information can be used along with existing evidence to help develop a description of an offender which can then be used by law enforcement. Profiling is relatively new and requires both legal and psychology knowledge. The fact it requires knowledge from such different industries means various approaches and terminologies are used. Profiling can be carried out in various ways. Geographical approach. This includes using the crime scene location to figure out where the offender may live or work. Investigative psychology approach. This involves using psychology knowledge to analyze the crime. The style of the crime can help to deduce the type of person who may have committed it. Typological approach. This involves looking at characteristics of the crime scene that stand out. Clinical approach. This involves using psychological and psychiatric knowledge to discern whether the offender may suffer from some sort of mental illness. The 5-step process. Generating a profile can be done by following the 5-step process. 1. Analyze the crime and compare it to other similar crimes. This will help to identify the type of people who have committed this sort of crime before. 2. Analyze the crime scene. Look for any specific characteristics that stand out. 3. Analyze the victim's background and circumstances. This may help to determine why the criminal targeted them. 4. Analyze potential factors which may have motivated the offender to commit the crime. 5. Using the above information, write up a description of the offender. Linkage analysis. Linkage analysis is another type of profiling which determines whether a series of crimes was potentially committed by the same offender. This is useful information, particularly when there is no DNA at the crime scene. This method involves studying the offender's modus operandi. This means their habits and tendencies exhibited during crimes, or their signature. The process is: 1. Obtain data about multiple similar-looking crimes. 2. Review data. Figure out what stands out about each crime. 3. Decide what features of the crime are modus operandi and which are ritualistic. 4. Compare modus operandi and ritualistic features to find the offender's signature. 5. Write a report about the findings. The importance of profiling. Profiling is important for a number of reasons. It can help investigators predict the characteristics associated with an unknown offender who has committed a crime. This allows them to identify potential suspects. This can save time, money, and further crimes from being committed. It provides an evaluation of the belongings found in the offender's possession. This could prevent another crime from being committed in the future because it can help indicate future offenders. It provides strategy suggestions for offender interviews. Knowing how to speak to a suspect is incredibly important, as it can make the difference between finding someone guilty and having too little evidence about an offender. False positive and false negatives. It is vital to be accurate when profiling, as damage can be made by false positive and false negatives. A false positive is when a suspect is wrongly investigated because of an inaccurate criminal profile. A false negative is when the correct suspect is overlooked because they did not fit the information in an inaccurate criminal profile. For less errors, any findings from a psychologist should be balanced with those of a professional criminal profiler to ensure best practice. Summary. In this module, you have learned: criminology is a genre of discourse and inquiry around a crime that is empirically grounded and scientific in nature. Crime is an action which constitutes an offense and is punishable by law. The law is often revised, so the parameters of crime change over time. Views for the causes of crime fall into two categories: individualist and collectivist. Criminal profiling is a relatively new practice, and it involves creating a profile using characteristics and data to determine who was likely to have committed a crime.